things are about to get a bit creepy. Now, as I was watching this series back, I just so happened to come across this episode here, season 1, episode 4, The Girl Who Cried Monster. Now, this episode is very disturbing and incredibly creepy. It also has a twist at the end that just makes this episode even more fire. So if I were you, I'd stay to the end. But without further ado, let's dive into this episode. Now, The Girl Who Cried Monster stars a girl named Lucy. Now, Lucy has a little brother named Randy, and she loved to scare him. She would tell Randy about scary stories and just pretty much anything she thought would scare him shitless. She also had a reputation for always talking about monsters and just disturbing things in general. So this is why nobody believed her when she told them about the terrifying things she saw at the library. Now, at this library is a man named Mr. Morden, and he pretty much runs the entire place. Lucy was at the library, and on this particular day she had decided to check out the book Frankenstein. She also saw her friend from school, Erin. Now, as she's checking out this book, Erin says, "Man, wouldn't it be so cool if monsters were real?" Mr. Morden then says,
"Well, I'm not so sure, Aaron. Most people like to be frightened in movies or stories. Not in real life."
I don't know, man. It was just something about the way he slammed that stamper down that gave me the creeps. Now, this is when things start to get a bit strange. Lucy and Erin were on the way home, and Lucy had stated she forgot her blades at the library. And by this time, it was getting pretty late, and Erin said he had to get home. So Lucy decided to walk back by herself, and when she gets there, she sees Mr. Morden shutting the place down. Now, apparently he hadn't locked the door yet, so she walks right in. She hears humming as she's walking in and has stumbled upon her blades. This is when she hears Mr. Morden saying this.
"Ooh, it's time, my plump little beauties. My little friends."
She peeks around the corner and sees him feeding his pet spider. Now, it wasn't so much what he was doing, but how he was doing it.
Don't be shy.
I mean, just plain weird. Now, this man reaches into his jar of crickets and actually starts eating them. Things escalate very quickly as he then turns into a full-fledged terrifying monster. She runs out as quick as possible, and of course she had to hit that famous fall. Bruh. Classic. Now, of course, when she gets home, nobody believed her. She had even called Aaron as well, but he also didn't believe her. She tells him,
"Well, you'll believe me soon enough. I'll prove it to you."
So it was the next day, and Lucy had decided to return to the library. Now, Mr. Morden was having a normal conversation with Lucy, completely unaware that she saw him last night. Yeah, Mr. Morden, it might be a good idea to lock the front doors the next time you decide to eat crickets and transform, my guy. Lucy had devised a plan to pretend she had left and she would hide somewhere in the library. So when he transforms again, she will snap a picture to have proof. Sounds like a solid plan, right? I'm not so sure. So her plan begins and she slams the door as if she's walking out and finds a spot to hide behind some shelves. So again, he transforms into this hideous creature, and this was Lucy's chance. She takes the picture as he's eating his pet spider, but as she's doing this, Mr. Morden hears the camera go off. He says, she then gets up to escape, and this part is very disturbing. Just listen to this.
Keep running, little one. I love fast food.
Now she runs down the hall and can't really find a good spot to hide. As much as she goes to this library, you would think she would know it like the back of her hand. She falls to her feet as her entire body fills with fear. This is when this abomination comes running around the corner and things seem to be over before they even started. But she somehow crawls through this man's legs and it legit looks like he just let her go. I think this twisted creature just likes to chase his food. But yeah, Lucy ends up making it home, and as soon as she gets there, she calls Aaron. Now of course this man still didn't believe her story until she said she had proof. He also tells her that she forgot her address is on her library card, so he knows where she lives. He says,
"He could be on his way to your house this minute."
That's not funny, Aaron.
If I were you, I'd get out of there right now.
Now this scared the hell out of Lucy. As you can see, she's getting the fuck out of there, but she comes down to find a big surprise at the door. Yeah, this man had shown up at her house and he was trying to get her to let him in, and even after she says no multiple times, he keeps persistent. This is creepy and weird on so many levels. Even if he wasn't a freaking monster, this would be completely inappropriate. He shows up because she had left her bag at the library saying it was on his way, but this was a goddamn lie because he lived all the way on the other side of town, as her mother says later on in the episode. Now Lucy had taken these photos to a shop to get them ready to view, and she ends up running into Mr. Morden again, which then her mother invites this man to their home for dinner, and this is when this episode gets even freakier. Mr. Morden arrives for dinner and things seem to be going pretty normal until it wasn't. Mr. Morden had asked her parents what was for dinner, and this happens.
What's for dinner?
Well, it was going to be a surprise, but...
Since you asked, you are.
Yeah, Lucy's parents were monsters this entire time, and they had only invited Mr. Morden back to secretly observe him to see if he was a real monster, because Lucy's parents had said they had to be the only monsters in town and that they couldn't risk having more monsters roam about. So they actually eat this man alive. Now after they eat Mr. Morden, they explain to the children that they can't tell anyone they're monsters because they might kill them, and they couldn't risk having more monsters around because they might tell others about them. So that's why they had to eat Mr. Morden. Her dad had also said that when they get older, they will get their training fangs. So yeah, they also were monsters. And that's pretty much the end of this episode. Man, I just love how Goosebumps episodes always have a twist at the end. That's like the best part. So I'll definitely be covering more, but be sure to let me know what you guys thought about this episode in the comments down below, and until next time guys, peace.